outfit is so beautiful, mashallah.
Mashallah, thank you.
Is it a personal design?
Yes.
I love it.
Thank you.
Now, inshallah, we are honored to introduce our second panel of the day, another group of incredible women who are leading with purpose and heart in every space they enter. Please join me in welcoming Idayat Sambo, Marwa Habrawi, attorney Rula Anush, and Dr. Munira Bomani. This panel will be moderated by none other than the Executive Director of CARE Cleveland, our dear sister Fatima Ahmed, a powerful voice for justice and a true servant of our community. May Allah place barakah in this conversation and allow us to inspire us all. Let's welcome them with heartfelt du'as and a warm round of applause. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Wa alaikum salam.
Who almost cried in the last panel? I am I don't know how to describe it. My heart is so filled today. Seeing you all here, hearing the wonderful stories, being inspired by these beautiful, wonderful women. To be honest, I know we talked about self-sabotage and doubt. This is the first time that I know of that CARE nationwide, and I don't know if anyone knows, but I think it's the first time that we've actually thrown a Muslim women's luncheon. Last week we had 7 ticket sales, so I was like, oh my goodness, are we gonna make it? Is it gonna be filled? I want to make sure the room is filled. And after that, I am so blown away by the outcome of this conference and just being in the presence of every single one of you. Jazakallah khair for being here today. Thank you so much. And do you guys have the mic?
No.
We're missing a mic. Do you remember where it is?
I think it wasn't working anyways.
Yeah.
In the door? In the door. Here it is. I found it. Thank you. Muslim woman helping Muslim woman. All right. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and start our panel questions. So the first question, first, before we begin, if you all can say your name and introduce yourselves, what you guys do.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Dr. Munira. I am a family medicine physician and a serial entrepreneur. I am the CEO and chief formulator of Bomani Beauty, which is a vegan cosmetics company. Myself and Sister Maksuda are in the beginning phases of building our own medical practice together, Shafina Health, and I'm also the CEO of Bomani Aesthetics.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Idayat, and I'm the owner and the creative designer behind Cover Me Cute. At Cover Me Cute, we empower women to tell their unique stories through show-stopping, size-inclusive, high-quality, effortless, modest fashion that boosts self-confidence. Our bottom line is to help you show up and show out every single day. Apart from being a fashion designer, I'm also an LPM by profession, and I also mentor small businesses that want to start their small business online.
Fatin, can I just say to you and Sister Aisha and the CARE Cleveland team, thank you so much for bringing us together. This is such a beautiful event, mashallah. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Rula Anush. I am an attorney in Ohio and Kentucky. I'm based in Cincinnati. I am the immediate past chair of CARE. I was served as chair of CARE from 2014 to 2022, and I'm now serving on our new 501c4 organization, CARE Action, so that we can start to build the political arm of the community much more than it's been in the past. And I also serve as the chair of the American Bar Association Center for Human Rights.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm very honored to be here with all of you today. My name is Marwa Habrawi. I'm from here, from Cleveland and the Kent area. I am right now the Congressional and Public Affairs and Strategic Communications Director at the Washington Center for Yemeni Studies. So I work, I commute between here in DC and work on Yemeni affairs with the Yemeni American community nationwide. so I work with those as well. I am also the advisory board member of the Arab Americans of Cleveland Young Professionals Network here in the city, where we work with the community to bring them together in one space where they can get to know each other as professionals, and we help each other grow from there as well. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Welcome. Mashallah. So this panel is called Leading with Excellence. So the first question I'm going to ask is about mentorship. Could you speak to the importance of being a mentor or a role model to others within your community or field, and how has this shaped your own leadership style?
I think that mentorship is really, really crucial, and unfortunately, I had no mentors. I was the first doctor in my family. I was the first doctor that I knew of in my community. I made it to medical school based off the will of Allah. I had no idea what I was doing. I was Googling things all the way, because as somebody who went to school in inner city Cleveland, all of my mentors, my guidance counselors were telling me I needed to go to nursing school instead. Nobody from Cleveland Public Schools has ever gotten into medical school. Cleveland State, my mentors in the honors department, were saying there's no way that you can do this. So I think that I did. And mind you, I started my classes at Cleveland State when I was 13 years old. So I was clearly very gifted, but I was yearning for this mentorship that never came. And I did enroll in nursing school, and I love my nurses, but at 13, I was like, there's more that I can do. And even when I got into medical school, alhamdulillah, I was like, there's more that I can do. After residency, starting my businesses, still, I'm craving that mentorship. I'm gonna get with my sister here next to me. And I feel like now I'm blessed to be in spaces where other women who have similar trajectories can, collaborate with me and at least share some of my same frustrations. But I think a common thread that you see, and I grew up with most of the women that were on these panels, is that we didn't have mentors. I feel very fortunate. I was the first woman in my family who marriage and kids wasn't everything. And there's so much power and just reverence I have for the women who came before me, but now I'm doing something and many things that a lot of people don't even know are possible, and I owe all of that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like he literally is guiding me through every single step, and that's the best form of mentorship. But I would love to get with everybody here just to make sure that we are all connected together, because we all are saying the same thing. We didn't have anybody above us, but it's our responsibility to create those channels for everyone coming after us.
I feel like mentorship is a really big part of becoming who you want to be. First of all, seeing another person being what you want to become, and then being able to follow that path. I think because I'm an African and I was raised in Nigeria, it's not just it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to build a company. It takes a village to be a mom. It takes a village to be a sister. Like, regardless of the stage that you are in your life, even if you're about to pick your next new career, it will be wonderful to have somebody that has done it for years. I was literally just telling my sister this. All the new married couples that are just getting into marriage, I believe personally, they should have a mentor from day one when they say yes to each other, have classes all the way up to when they should never let that mentor couple go, because we feel lonely in our marriages too. And we don't talk about this in the Muslim community. The Christians do a better job with having mentors within the churches, but we don't take it very seriously. And we just shove it aside and, take care of your kids, be a good wife. But there's always that void in, I wish I knew a newly married woman that's going through this same thing or somebody that has gone through it that I could share it with. But we believe that so many things are personal, we can't even share it because we're Muslims. We have to be modest, we're covered. They don't need to know this, and we go through so much, and then we run into, sadness and then depression. But just having that figure of I can tell her this. She can understand me. She's not going to think I'm crazy. It goes a long way. And that's why I decided to become a business mentor. Alhamdulillah, I have mentored over 26 companies start from a business idea. And it's not even about them making money, but just to show them that you can do anything you put your mind to. Like the moment you put your mind to it, you need a support. And the biggest support you can get is somebody that has already been through it. So when you are, because you are gonna fail, because failure is the stepping stone to your success. It's just a stepping stone, because it's just like going to the gym. When you take those first steps the first day, then you take 15 steps the next day, then 20 steps. What are you doing? You're in pain while doing it, but you're building your muscle. The same goes for life experience. You're building that wisdom. You're building that muscle of, oh, I got this. You're building your endurance. But it's hard when you're doing it alone. And that's why I believe you shouldn't have one mentor. You should have a mentor in every aspect of life. If you are a teenager, you should have a mentor. If you're just married, you should have a marriage mentor. You should have a career mentor. You should have a health mentor. We should have mentor in every single aspect of our life, because if you want to go far, you go with people. If you want to go fast, you go alone. So to me, it's super important.
Agreed that it's so important. I feel like one of the most important things we can do is empower the next generation of leaders, especially in our community and especially with women in our community. And so that's something that I try to devote a lot of energy to, is to making sure that I'm there for people who are interested in law, for example, or interested in community organizing, interested in community building and all of the different things that we want to be involved in. I believe strongly in the idea of lift as you climb. I have a lot of things I hope to do in my career and in my life and for the community, inshallah. And I want to see people come after me that are doing things 100 times better, 1,000 times better. Like, one of the things that I think is important is this idea that we're laying a foundation that's built upon a foundation laid before us by others, and especially by incredible women before us. And we want to see the next generation go harder, go farther, go bigger. And so being there for them, ensuring that we make ourselves available is something that's really important to me. I'm also intentional about giving energy to people that are most in need of mentors. So if it's a young person interested in law, I'm not going to say no to talking to them. If it's a young Muslim woman, if it's a young person from our community, I always want to make sure that I make space for them. And also not just to meet with them and talk to them, but also take the responsibility of speaking their name in rooms that they may not be in, and really advocating for them, taking mentorship to that next level of encouraging their growth, maybe even in spaces that they didn't know to seek it. Because as we grow and we have opportunities and we're in spaces that they may not yet be in, I know that I have the benefit of people speaking my name, and I want to carry that forward, inshallah. And then just from a personal perspective, I believe in the need for mentors, and mentors of all different backgrounds, and especially people who are younger than me, because I learn a lot from the people that they claim that I'm their mentor, but I think the role is reversed, because I think I learned so much from them. So it really is a beautiful mutual working relationship to be in that kind of community with people who are seeking information that you may have, but also we get inspiration from them. So it's really a beautiful relationship.
I agree with everything. I mean, I second everything the ladies said here. I would say I also had a hard time finding mentorship when I was younger. Depends. I would say my father actually was an important figure in a lot of the things that I did when I was younger, because he did go to college here. He did come here from Lebanon, when the Civil War started, and he had been here since. So he helped a lot along the way, but I think when it came to specific career seeking after college, that traditional way of getting out of college, getting a job, etc., had really ended at the time that I was getting out of college, where things really changed. It wasn't a straightforward path anymore. where the idea of having connections and doing internships and building up relationships while you're still in college, that idea was still not very prominent, at least not in my circle and my community. It was kind of like just you're supposed to take this straight shot path. I remember when I went to, when I did my master's, so I did my master's in something completely different than what I do, you guys. I didn't even get to work in that field. I was at Ohio State. I did agricultural engineering because I was really interested in soil and water conservation. And I remember at the time there were men from our community who worked in that field, from our Muslim community. And I sought them out, and I reached out to them, and I sought out their mentorship, I sought out their help in even getting an internship. And it always came back with, yeah, of course, etc., and then crickets. And I would say after that, I lost a lot of hope in seeking that kind of help from my community, because it was very disheartening, especially when I saw it being given to other boys from our community. So after that, I would say I was just forging my way through it, going through the doors that God opened for me. I did so many things before I ended up where I ended up today. I even thought where I ended up was going to be temporary, and subhanAllah, 4 years later, here I am still. So I would say that I got a lot of support from my family. I agree with you on learning from the younger ones. My sisters, 2 of them are right over here today. I've always helped them whenever they sought help. Them and their friends, they'll come to me, they'll ask me. But I learned so much more from them. I really wouldn't be caught up on like the Gen Z fads and how to talk to younger people if it wasn't for them. I wouldn't really care too much. I wasn't really a social media person, but they keep me up to date on the conversations that are happening amongst the youth and where the gaps still are and where we need to fill the gaps as adults. So I would say also that you gotta look for people you see who are successful in wherever you are and learn from them. Something that worked for me, and this might make you laugh, but I'm in a male-dominated industry. I'm in a white male-dominated industry. So I just started watching what white men do, and I started doing it. I was like, I'm gonna carry that attitude, and that's all I needed. They would not be apologetic about this. Why would I be? They're gonna speak up about this. So can I. And it earns you a lot of respect. When they see you working with them the way that they work, it's life-changing. I've also worked with Arab men in my organization. I was one woman with 4 to 5 Yemeni men. It was really hard to kind of take the charge, but I did because they brought me on because they needed my help. So when I got pushback from them, I picked my battles. I conceded when I needed to, but I stood my ground when I needed to. And now they can't really do it without me, so.
Okay.
We touched a little bit on making space. What does making space for yourself mean to you as a Muslim woman in your field and in your community?
Ooh. I think that making space, I do that, I guess, passively. I don't go into spaces saying, I'm going to create this room for me. I am my authentic self. A lot of people who've known in this room have known me my entire life. I am who I am, no matter whether I'm in the hospital, in the clinic, dancing, whatever I'm doing, I'm my authentic self. And I feel like when you say making space, it implies that you are angling yourself so that other people feel comfortable with you being there. Other people being uncomfortable with me and my authentic self is not my problem. It's not my problem at all. I am exactly who I am, no matter which space that I'm in, and I feel like that's enough for me. And I think that growing into adulthood and entering these professional spaces where I am the only person who looks like me, the only person who talks like me, it's so easy to fall into that. You kind of shrink yourself down because you're like, oh, how are people going to perceive me? But I think that what keeps me my most authentic self is, at the end of the day, knowing that I'm doing everything I do for Allah. And He has made me perfectly the way that I am. If other people are uncomfortable with that, that's on them, it's not on me. So I really encourage younger women, especially who come after me, to have the same mentality. It's not about the other people who are around you. If they feel uncomfortable, they'll leave. Water finds its level, but as long as you're your most authentic self at the end of the day, you can have no regrets. And that's what we want at the end of the day, to have no regrets. So I kind of challenge that question, because I'm not making space for anybody. I'm just myself. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, then you can distance yourself, period. That's it.
I'm the direct opposite of you, doctor, because I intentionally make space. Because when I was growing up, I lived in the UK. I lived in London when I was little. So I used to get picked on a lot. I got extra melanated skin. I got tribal marks. I had a thick African accent. I got bullied a lot. So while growing up, I have this natural aura. When I step into a room, it makes people feel like I'm trying to be seen. I heard it so much, I internalized it. So I started shrinking. So when I'll get into a room, I want to be at the back. When people are talking, I wouldn't want to talk. America made it worse, because when I moved to the United States, I couldn't find modest clothing that made me feel good. And if you know Nigerians, we know how to put it on, okay? I couldn't. So I withdrew from the society for 5 years. I had to work on myself and my mental health and kind of rebuild the confidence that I used to have when I was little. And keep on reminding myself that you can't shrink and fit into people's boxes. They're gonna have to come up with you or stay right where they are. So the moment I started being intentional about being who I am and creating spaces, naturally, I'm a very loud person. I'm a very fun, bubbly person. Just my personality alone it took me a long time to realize that's actually a blessing from Allah. I don't have to be like somebody else. I don't have to be cool, calm, and collected. I can be my authentic self anywhere, any day. You're either gonna take it or you're gonna leave it. So I'm very intentional by creating spaces for people that look like me, that dress like me, that talk like me. I want you to see me and see yourself in me like, oh, if Idayat can do it, I can do it too.
I love that. So when I think of making space, I actually like to twist it on its head a little bit, and I think of taking space. And that is because, in part, some of the things that were already shared. I think that for women especially, and then those of us who are from various minority communities or underrepresented groups, there's just this pushing us down and making us, there's a societal pressure, I think, to shrink back or to not be our full authentic selves and not bring everything that we are and that we have to the table. And I'm very intentional about resisting that. And so I take space, whether that is sitting comfortably in my chair, standing comfortably in my space, taking the time to complete my thoughts, not allowing people, men or otherwise, to interrupt me. And if they do, I just keep talking. And using the time and space that I have also to benefit the causes and purposes that matter to me. So taking space isn't just about my own physical presence, but it's the presence of me as an Arab and Muslim woman in whatever room I'm in. So I mentioned earlier that I am a volunteer with the American Bar Association, and you could imagine that organization has a strong Zionist influence and has a lot of challenges for people advocating for Palestinian human rights, but I am very intentional about taking space everywhere I'm in to talk about Palestine, to talk specifically about what U.S. taxpayers are funding in Palestine and actions that need to be taken. And it makes other people uncomfortable, and that's not really my concern. I'm not here to worry about someone else's discomfort by the space that I take. As long as I am I have my akhlaq, my adab, and I make sure that I'm speaking in a way that's respectful of people's experiences, but also being very fundamental on justice and fundamental on the truth that we need to share. And especially for those of us that are in rooms that there aren't many like us in, I think it gives us an extra sense of responsibility to use that space and use it well. So I love to encourage women to take the space, to know that if you're in a room, that means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put you there and you belong. You don't need to worry about a feeling of being an imposter or not belonging or being less than your white male counterparts, because there's a societal pull on us to make us think. And I think of it even in a way as like shaitan that makes us think we don't belong. But if you're there, that means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put you there. And so take the space, use with the opportunity, use with whatever role you're in, a way to benefit the people around you, the ummah, and ultimately for me, it's always a strive of working towards justice. And so I try to make sure that I remember that as I'm taking space, it's not about me or myself or things that I want to say, but it's those causes and things that we're all concerned about that we want to make sure we advocate forward, inshallah.
What you said resonates with me a lot, because when I first entered the space that I'm in, at the Washington Center for Yemeni Studies, for example, I remember, at first, like I said, it was supposed to be a temporary thing, but I really believed in the cause that the Yemeni community was working towards, because it also was a reflection of what my country was going through, what Lebanon was going through, what Syria was going through. And so I, wanted to be somebody that can support them. And as we went along, I remember the first moment that I really felt that my work was fruitful. And that was when we were working towards the first conference that we held in DC. It was the first conference that was specifically for Yemen. An all-day thing. Usually there's always like conferences, and you may have a panel here or there, if any, that are on Yemen. But no, we had a whole day. And not only that, I was able to, convince them to make partnerships, to bring in other think tanks and other experts into the conversation by kind of partnering with them, and they all bring in their own panels. So that kind of gave us a lot to work with in terms of credibility, because we were a very fresh organization. I remember that day, I would say a couple months before that, the team was struggling. And that entire time I was keeping my voice I kept myself shrunk, right? Because I'm like, well, I'm not Yemeni, it's not my space, I'm just here to do like some, support, do the operations and logistics, etc., and just kind of help out in that regard, and I'll let them, make the decisions and do all that. Until they were struggling too much, and we're just a couple months away from this really big conference that's supposed to have really important people, and I'm like, I'm gonna be in that room. And in that moment, I was a bit selfish. I was like, I am not putting my face and my name on something that is not going to be successful. This is a make it or break it for me kind of situation. But not only for me, for the organization as well. So even though it was a bit selfish in that regard, it was also in terms of the cause. This was a make it or break it for the cause as well. So I took charge. I started working day and night. I would be 12 hours a day on my laptop, not moving, making phone calls, writing emails, designing website pages, doing things I've never done in my entire life before. Until the day came and, everything is working great, and I have Yemeni women come up to me afterwards. And I'm saying women specifically because what they said meant so much to me. They would be like, we really did not have high expectations. They're like, yes, Yemeni men, etc. They're like, we did not have high expectations, but we are surprised. We feel like overjoyed. They're like, we felt like this had a woman's touch. They didn't know me at the time. They're like, we felt there was a woman's touch. And I remember some of you probably know Dr. Rabi al-Muntasir. She was from New York. She's one of the women I highly admire, especially as a Yemeni American woman. And she came in as a keynote speaker. It's really hard to get her. There's a lot of pushback too. There's always pushback on the women speakers. Guys, it's not easy. You always have to fight to make sure these women and voices are represented. And she came in, and like our first interaction was her feeling overwhelmed by how incredible that conference was, and her and I just crying. That was like our first interaction. So I would say you have to step up when you need to, and really take up the space, and don't feel like you need to shrink yourself, and make that space for others. It can be, and have that selfish reason too. Make it a selfish reason. It's okay, It's okay to make it a selfish reason, because sometimes those selfish reasons are the domino effect for the bigger picture that we end up with.
So my third question is about education. What role does education within both Muslim and non-Muslim communities play in dismantling harmful stereotypes?
Well, I think that to answer this question, I will just give a little bit of insight as to my background. My parents always told me that the language of America is not English, it's intelligence. Again, it's not English, it's intelligence. And unfortunately, education and intelligence are not synonymous. Which you can see by some of our elected officials. Even though they've gone to the best schools in the land, they're dumb, for lack of better words. And I think that we are so fortunate as Muslim women, especially women who wear hijab or women who are visibly ethnic or Muslim, because we are ambassadors for our faith, for our communities, for our lineages, and us merely existing and doing the amazing things that we're doing serves as education for others. They might not need to take a class about how do you interact with Muslims, or how, I read this on TV, or I saw this thing on MTV about Muslims, but you act completely different. Like every time that we enter a room, like my sister Idayat, when she comes in with her grace and her poise, mashallah, that's education to somebody who's never seen a beautiful queen like this, to say, wow, is that what Islam is about? Or when you meet sisters like Melak, who I look up to so much, sorry to call you out, girl. I've always, mashallah, looked up to Melak because she's really out there and she's in the community and she's in these uncomfortable spaces, but her simply existing is education to all of those white men who may have never met a young woman who's outspoken, who may have never encountered a Palestinian woman, who may have never even sat and had a conversation with a Muslim. So I take that into all of my patient encounters. With my telehealth job, I have all of these licenses in the Deep South, Arkansas, Alabama, I have Idaho, and I'm talking to these people on purpose, because even though we're talking about Ozempic or we're talking about something that has nothing to do with Islam, I'm the first Muslim most of them have ever seen, and probably the last one they'll ever see. I am the only black woman they'll probably ever speak to in their entire life, but the way that I treat them, the way that I make them feel comfortable, the smile, the sunnah that I give them, that's education to them about, okay, maybe we're similar, we tell jokes together, we laugh together, maybe Islam is not that bad. And I feel like that is my biggest honor as a Muslim, and what has helped me be more firm in wearing hijab is that just me existing the way that I do in space is educating others about the beauty of our religion, about the wonder that comes from all of these strong lineages that we come from. And I think that those daily interactions are the main way that we break down stereotypes. I know that was long-winded, but I think that's why, you know, a class is not necessarily education. We are educating people even when we go, you know, to the grocery store and people see us and how we treat others with kindness. So if you learn anything from the session, it's just to continue to be the amazing woman that you are, because people are watching and it softens their hearts. And that's what, you know, this Ummah is all about.
Just to piggyback off of what Doctor just said right now, I had the opportunity to go with an interview for multiple of the Walmart buyers in Arkansas. So, of course, there were like 1,300 small businesses there. And yes, I was the only visible Muslim with the hijab. But just like you said about the education, thank you. When it comes to education in America, people pick and choose what they want to check on Google. They could know everything else, but they know nothing about Muslims, okay? Or they pretend not to know. But it is our duty, even if they're pretending, and we clearly know they're pretending, to re-educate them. But people don't listen to what we say. They watch what we do more. So I remember talking to these buyers, and majority of the things I said, they never heard before. They was just intrigued by the brand and the traction. And, you know, of course, they checked out all my social media. They checked out all the feedback on my website. They dig deep before they pick me. And they were like, we didn't know you were as small of a business as this, because this is how much we require you to have, like in production before you can come on. But we know we can work with you until you get there, because we already see the potential. They educated themselves because they know how fast Islam is growing. Islam is going to be the second largest religion in the United States by 2040, the second largest. So it's growing rapidly like wildfires. They see that. You know, they're all about money, all about business. So they educated themselves. So just like Sister Nadira said, Dr. Nadira said, Munira said, it's not just about what we learn in school. A lot of times we go to school, we don't even use that certificate. We just go to school to be educated. The most important education is the one we get in real life, in real time. It's not the theories. It's not the Abraham Lincoln. No, it's the things that we do to each other every day and the way we come out and we communicate with each other. It's the informal education that is more important than the formal. And even though we still have to have the education, and by the way, Muslims are one of the most educated people in the United States, okay? We got to give ourselves that. But we're also the hard workers. We work 10 times harder to get seen, to get felt, and to get heard. But yes, education is absolutely, what we're doing right now is education. And I crave to see more of what we're doing today in the nearest future.
Well, I'm a self-identified nerd. I think that it's just so important to be curious about the world around us and to learn more about so many different things that are important to the community, a tidbit of something that might be of interest to you, to learn about history, to learn about our deen. I mean, there's just a world around us, and I think that as Muslims, we have an obligation to be educated and to learn, and educated in the way that my dear sisters have shared, not necessarily codified in a degree or a particular class, but in the knowledge that comes from learning. And so I hope that we'll all be committed to being lifelong learners and then taking the information that we have and sharing it with the world around us, because education is such a key, as has been shared, to amplifying the voices of Muslims and people in our communities on the issues that matter the most to us. So learn and have the knowledge and then use it for the good of those around us, whether it's, I think of it as a circle effect, our immediate family, community around us, and then that ripple effect of how one person's information or knowledge can ultimately benefit so many people around them. So I think that too often we spend time in our community talking about maybe from a negative perspective, or not thinking in a moving forward and positive thinking and positive reinforcement way, but I think focusing on knowledge and education can be such a critical part of what we all know we need to do to advocate, defend, and protect our community, inshallah.
So for me, when we're talking about education, I agree with what Rana was saying about continuing to educate yourself. So when it comes to education, sometimes I feel like our communities focus too much on external outcome and how we're educating the outside of our community on our religion, on who we are, rather than looking internally. And not internally as an individual level, but as a community, and how we're educating our kids in our community on Islam. So, for example, I mean, this is just kind of, because when I first read that question, my first thought is, well, I wouldn't really expect that in a public school I'm going to learn about Judaism or Christianity, because that happens only in private schools, right? Because it's a Christian school, it's a Muslim school, it's a Jewish school. What I would think about in public education, for example, it would be history. But also, how much of the history they teach us is even true for us to really think about it that way. I wish they could teach a little bit more about, the amazing times or the kind of civilizations that Islam has led. But even within our community, there are so many misconceptions and misunderstandings and kind of grandiosing of some ideas that we also need to really be realistic with ourselves, with our children, and with the way that we're growing as a community and changing the way that we have the conversations. I still see some questions that continue to come up. There's a lot of, there's always this word, like when they always are talking about Sharia, 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 and it's like, oh God, this is never going to end. But we're also lacking in our community because many people I feel like, especially the youth, wouldn't even know what it is, or don't even understand what Sharia is, or wouldn't even know how to say that, well, the Jews also have a Sharia, and they also live by certain rules, and that's their Sharia, and this is our Sharia, right? So, circling it back, or kind of going back to the point, is that there are so many concepts that we lack in the way that we have our conversations. Like, for example, Sheikh Aisha was saying earlier, she was telling us the story of Hajar after she found the water. I've never heard that story. And I grew up in Lebanon for 10 years. I went to private Islamic schools. I had third of the Quran memorized by the time I was past 6th grade. I've taken so many Sirah classes, never heard that story. I never knew that Khadija radiallahu anha had homes for domestic abuse. Never heard that. So my first thought is I'm listening to you and it's really touching me. I'm like, what about, to me I'm like, why didn't we learn about these stories in our Islamic studies? I'd hate to say it, but what about the misogyny in our communities that is even blocking us from learning these stories? I don't say blocking us, but really putting it in front of us, right? Or in front of the boys in our community. So I would say we have to start at home.
Thank you. So this is our last question. Mashallah, all of you are on in the public eye, right? So this question is, increased prominence often brings public critique. How do you balance transparency with self-care while remaining an authentic representative of Muslim womanhood?
Okay, so this question, I think I will tie back to my dear sister Rakaya. A lot of people know Rakaya. When we were way younger, She used to like come in, she always wears this beautiful pink, mashallah, and she would literally come with her pink and she would say, fear Allah, period. And I what? For those of you who know Rakaya, remember that era, fear Allah, period. And me and my sister Nicola, we always used to say that and joke about it. But I was like, wow, subhanAllah, what amazing company and the benefit of having such great company, because that little silly thing that she said so many years ago, I don't even know if she would remember, but it stuck with me forever and ever, because my recurrent theme that I keep trying to tell, even my kids, my sisters, is really like the only person, or not person, but the only thing that you have to fear in this lifetime really is Allah. Because all of our actions, how you treat other people, how you conduct your business, how you take care of money, like do you give charity, every single thing that we do, we're gonna be asked about it. And to me, nothing else matters. I know that with increased prominence, when we do beauty events, it's like, oh, sister, that's not appropriate hijab. Like, I see your ankle, sister, blah, blah, blah. Or like, you hear other doctors who are a lot more prim and proper, like, why are you wearing sneakers on, on a panel? Like, people will always have something stupid to say. Yeah. And you can let that, I am who I am. I am my authentic self no matter where I go. And I think that at the end of the day, if I know that I've been my most authentic self, if I treat people kindly, if I run my businesses with integrity, if I treat people well, it doesn't matter what other people think about my hijab. If Allah knows that I put my best intention forward, I really do feel in my heart that my efforts will be accepted. And if not, I always ask, that He would forgive me for my shortcomings. And I think that really focusing on what your driving force is and what we're even living for makes it easy to be authentic. I know every day, of course, everybody has their flaws and their shortcomings, but I live every day, or at least I try to, inshallah, I'm striving for it, that I live my life in a way that if I were to die tomorrow, I would feel that everything that I needed to accomplish has been done. And I feel that having that weight lifted off of you, it opens so much space for creativity, for authenticity, for you to be your authentic self, and for you to give so much to others, because you know that your affairs are more or less taken care of, or at least you're trying your best. So that's my answer to do you feel imposter syndrome? Do you feel, how are you this person where you go everywhere? And I just say, in the words of my sister Rakaya, fear Allah, period.
Do you mind asking that question again?
Yeah, no problem. Increased prominence often brings public critique. Mm-hmm. How do you balance transparency with self-care while remaining an authentic representative of Muslim womanhood?
Personally, I think the word balance is overused. When you are focusing on something is going to suffer. That's just how life is. Birthing a new business, you're focusing on this new business. Maybe you used to have 3 play dates with your kids. Now maybe you need to have 1, because just like a human, your business is also human. Needs attention until it can grow by itself and be independent. So I feel like there's really no balance in life. All we can do is our possible best, and have that clear intention, just like my sister said here. I woke up today and I did my best, and I have the belief that my best is good enough, and that's what I try to encourage and create my reels about. We should focus less about comparing ourselves to others. That's where the problem starts. That's where I don't think I'm good enough. I think I'm poor at this. I think, oh my God, now she's using the niqab and I can barely get my turban on. If we focus on our personal development, okay, am I better than what I used to be yesterday? Okay, what is my plan to be better tomorrow? That is my own race. That is my own balance, which is imbalanced. Sometimes my self-care is going to suffer for my goals. Sometimes I'm going to miss out on my kids' games just so I can build this legacy that I want them to inherit in a few years to come. And sometimes I'm going to be like the soft mom. Sometimes I'm going to be the tough mom, because I have to do that to show my kids that, you can do this, because sometimes everybody needs that tough love in their life. So I don't believe in balance. I just believe in doing as much as I can and sleeping every night with, okay, I tried my best today, and tomorrow I'm just gonna continue.
I love that, sis. I like to say work-life harmony, not balance, because balance
Period.
makes it seem like you're battling things against
Yes.
each other and weighing them, but really it's more of like, what's the harmony in your life? And harmony also like feels like a better word. So that was just a reaction to what you shared. It's interesting. So I've learned to, because there has been a lot of critique, I've been somebody that has experienced that in many different ways in the different organizations that I've volunteered with and roles that I've had. And I've learned that what other people think of me is none of my business. And I just try my best, except for my parents. I care what they think, and I want to hear if they're concerned about something I'm saying or doing. But otherwise, I'm not going to concern myself with what people say based on what they think or their own feelings, or I just try my best not to focus on it and really not to let it sit on me. Because ultimately Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best judge and sees and knows everything that I do, and that's what I keep with me as I carry about my day and the different roles that I have. I was the first woman to serve as chair of CARE, and it's interesting that I share this and people don't often expect me to say it. The biggest criticism and the most challenging comments came from Muslim women. When I first became the chair of CARE, and then in many ways throughout the time that I served in that role. And one of the most beautiful counters to that, because with every challenge comes opportunity, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us things through even the negative experiences that we go through. I got the benefit of having my brothers surround me and seeing the support that I had from especially my fellow board members on the CARE National Board, our executive director, Nihad Awad, all of the brothers that were with me on the board that were truly, I was their sister and I was the chair of the organization, and they stood with me as we worked together. And so I got to also see the care that comes from the men in our community towards their sisters, because I think too often we don't focus on the good that comes from many of our brothers supporting us. Not to say there's not the challenge, because we all know that. But alhamdulillah, there are many who are with us and supporting us, and so this question made me remember that that was an experience I had. And so it's an important part of maintaining that sense of self and knowing what you're doing and what you're focusing on. You talked about self-care in the question too, so I thought there were these interesting points in the question, and self-care I think is something that we get wrong in American society. But then I don't want us as Muslims to dismiss it as something that we shouldn't be thinking about, because of course we should. Our body has rights over us, and that's something I've had to remind myself. So part of self-care for me is working out, is going outside, being outside, experiencing the beauty in nature. And also, this is something that I've taught myself as days can be crazy and busy, and sometimes there can be really difficult times that we go through, is the concept of do at least one thing every day that brings me joy. Even if that's something that from the outside might be perceived as something very small, like making a really beautiful cup of coffee in the morning, and before I start a crazy day, just sitting with it and having that for 10 minutes and that beautiful moment of peaceful reflection as I start the day. Those are just little kind of reactions to the question that you asked. Thank you for asking it.
So again, I will second everything the ladies said, so I won't repeat what they had touched on. But I would like to kind of give you more of a perspective from my experience, especially working in politics. It's a very tough space to be, because it kind of hits you at the core of who you are all day, every single day. You are questioning yourself, your beliefs, what your values are, and how you apply those values. You have to be in rooms with people you don't agree with. You have to be in rooms with people you may not like. But sometimes they got the key to something that you want. And you have to be able to build relationships with them. You have to be able to find a way to talk to them. So you always find yourself kind of toying gray lines and asking yourself, where do I stand and how do I handle this topic and how do I handle this issue without hurting this one, without hurting that one? Because it's not, I may work on one cause, but it's a cause that's connected to many others. And it's disheartening because sometimes you have to separate and figure out a way where your narrative is not hurting the other's narrative either. And being a Muslim and having grown up overseas, having grown up listening to, hearing certain things, right? As you get older, you start you start growing, you start maturing, you start learning, you start kind of educating yourself further on some of these topics. But then you find yourself in a very isolated place where you're not fully in line with your community, but you're not in line with the opposite either. And you find yourself in a position where you have to identify also who's standing by your side and why, and how authentic it is. Because we become most vulnerable to hypocrisy and hypocrites when we are leading with our emotions or with this, with people who side with us. So kind of living every day looking for an answer can be very, very difficult. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to leave politics. I worked in it for a couple of years and I was done with it. Until October of 2023 happened. And I found myself in a place where I was kind of like I was like talking, having my conversation with Allah, and I'm like, you did it again. Now I'm stuck again because I know I can't leave this space anymore. Because if I do, then I'm leaving it for somebody else to fill it, and I don't know who this somebody else is. But I know who I am. I know my intention, and I know my convictions. But with leadership comes responsibility, especially in those spaces. And that responsibility you have to answer to Allah. So you're always wondering, am I working towards something that, Ya Allah, you support? Or am I one of those people who think they're doing good, but they're actually corrupt? That ayah really hits at my core all the time, makes me question myself all the time. I don't want to be somebody that thinks they're doing something good, but they're actually doing something bad. And at the same time, it's hard to find mentorship in the sense that who do you ask about the truth? Who has the truth? Different people can say different things, different sources can state can give you the information differently, but ultimately, where does the truth come from? So as I fear that at any point I'm doing something that is against what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would consider as good, I have nowhere to check what the truth is. So in my journey to kind of find my solace and my peace in this world and in the work that I do, I went back to Allah and I really cleared my intentions, and I would have conversations with Him that, Ya Allah, you are the truth, so protect me from ever preaching something that is going to lead anyone astray in any way. I don't know everything. I don't know anything. And the more I learn, I find out how much more I don't know and how much more I question. So I And that's where I learned submission. Especially in seeing struggle and pain around the world, I had to find a place where I stopped wanting to be in control of the situation so much. I had to let go of control. I had to submit, and I had to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful. So He is taking care of those people who are in pain. So what I can do is I can keep my intentions clear. I can focus on this little piece of a puzzle that He gave me the responsibility of, and just do it as best as I can and give it my 100% all day, every day. So what gives me peace is knowing that I'm doing my best all day, every day, giving it my 100%, that I trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put the right people in my path, to put the truth in my path, and to keep me steadfast in my path. And every day, as I learn something new, I find my peace.
Fear Allah, period, right?
Period.
That was so amazing, mashallah. You all are amazing people and just so inspiring. How many of you took away something today that resonated with you, or something that you experienced, or something that will help you later on in your life? Yeah, that's beautiful. Alhamdulillah, my dua has been answered. I drink my Zamzam water before we continue on with this event, and alhamdulillah, it is something that people, inshallah, will benefit for years to come. And let's face it, it's not only the people in this room that will benefit from this. Your children will benefit from it, their children, your friends, your neighbors, and so on. And I'm just so proud of all of you, mashallah. And I know I've even gone to some of you and asked for advice, Marwa, when I said, what do you do when it's all men and they're trying to tell you what to do, and just push back. Push back if you know you're right. And
I would literally be like, I'm not doing it, so if you can do it, you go ahead. But I'm not doing it. I'm not signing off on this. And just let them be.
I love it, mashallah. So Jazakallah khair, thank you so much. May Allah bless all of you, and I'm just in awe of every single woman here today. So thank you so much.
One more round of applause for our second panel. Thank you guys so much. Alhamdulillah. Truly, what an amazing event, an amazing afternoon. As we draw to a close, I'm reminded of the Prophet ﷺ's words, the best of people are those who are most beneficial to others. Today we witness this benefit in action. Stories, strategies, and sisterhood that will ripple far beyond this room, like Sister Catherine said. On behalf of CARE Ohio, heartfelt thanks to our speakers, our sponsors, volunteers, and each of you for investing in Muslim women's leadership. And thank you to our sponsor, Shabam Coffee, for the donation, Chef Ismail Samad for the speaker dinner last night. It was beautiful. Unity and Mace for the table sponsorships. And we want to thank, of course, La Center for hosting us. So the last thing we're going to do is announce the last prize winner, inshallah. Can Ayman Zahra come up? So now, please make sure you all stay connected with CARE Cleveland.